everybody. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Spark Soul Therapy. So, we have a super exciting day today. So, I have with us Natasha from Wicked Moonlight.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you. It's so exciting to have you here. So, this is our series called Soul Journeys. And it's a series of conversations that focus on different spiritual paths and religious paths. It's meant to just share human experience of heart and healing and community, and just expression of soul. And, this is not a comparison of ideologies, our conversation today, or a place of judgment. If someone's path is different from your own, this is a conversation to, enjoy someone else's path.
Love that.
So no disrespect will be tolerated in this space, in the comments or anywhere else. But this is a conversation about women just sharing each other's experience of beauty and healing and love and growth, spiritual growth and soul growth. So, that being said, today we have Natasha from Wicked Moonlight. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I've been following her channel for a long
Oh,
time. And she is just so welcoming and creates such a beautiful space. And so I kind of just wanted to talk to her today about her spiritual journey and how she sees spirit. And so her channel is Wiccan Moonlight. She does tarot reviews. She is kind of on the pagan path, although she's pretty eclectic. Yeah, it's a good thing. We're learning and growing, right?
yeah.
So, just to start, so I'm just wondering if you would tell us, so if we, know somebody knows nothing about you, your spiritual path, just kind of tell us a little bit about your story and, give us a picture of what your path looks like.
So, it's really weird to say this because growing up, you're kind of taught that it's a bad thing.
Mhm.
But I decided years ago that I'm reclaiming it, and I consider myself a witch. I work with nature. I work with energy, and that came about from years of going to different ideologies and churches and stuff like that, trying to figure out a path.
Mhm.
So I was trying to, deconstruct from that. And so I went along the path of just being straight agnostic, or not, excuse me, atheist. I always get them
Mhm.
mixed up. I went straight at atheist, but that didn't feel right. So I just started exploring more. And I always loved the idea of being in nature, working with nature. And I was subconsciously following that path the whole time. And then I
Mhm.
just leaned into it when I started researching more. And tarot was a part of my life, and that exploded and just one by one connected the dots. So here we are today, where I revere nature, and I know it's a cheesy thing to say, like nature is my church, but you go out and you connect with nature, you start to connect more with yourself, once you start really appreciating it. um, and then with tarot, you start doing the internal work as well. So you can just connect both things. Hopefully
Yes.
that makes sense.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. And what I've noticed when I've started doing these conversations is, and I'm connecting with a lot of women that have not had just a straight path. Do you know what I mean? There's discovery, there's change, there's, all this, you kind of keep on the journey. And definitely, like for myself too, like if I'm ever, just I'm a huge connector with nature.
Yeah.
And I absolutely 100% get that. And if I am, really in a struggle, I have to go out and ground, or I have to hold on to a tree for a little bit, or I have to, like, it's so much bigger than us, but it has so much to teach us. And
It
just,
really
yeah,
is.
the wheel of the year, the cycles, the fall, the spring, like, the growth, the death, all of it is just incredible.
Right. It teaches you so much about just how disconnected we really are now as human beings from our roots and from just nature in general. We've gotten to the point where um, big businesses have taken over and synthesized a lot of what we used to do for medicine. And, not saying that you shouldn't go through Western medication and all of that, not saying that, but there's things that we can do to heal ourselves at home
Mhm.
that we've forgotten about for generations. There's things that we are not connected with anymore due to the sense of how society works today. So when you start going along this path, you start to realize how disconnected individually you are, and then how disconnected from each other we are,
Yes.
and how our society is so individualistic. So when you start going through this nature path, you start to realize how we can all become more one and have that empathy and that connection. And a lot of us are missing that and needing
Yes.
it.
Yes, and I feel like we're going to come back even more so, but we've been through this huge tower moment, if you will, of separation and divide. That's actually one of the reasons I created the channel, created this series of conversations. Like we have so much more in common and so much more to connect on than the separation. I mean, but it's
Yeah.
gotten to such this pivotal point of just we need to come back together and we need to connect back with the planet and just all this beauty. I mean, when you talk about medication and things like I take medication, all these things, but I'm grateful. But 80% of the pharmaceutical industry, it comes from plants that
Yes.
plant knowledge and plant
Yes.
use.
Mhm.
That it's straight where it came from. So it's important to kind of follow the path back, as you say. Uh,
Right.
yeah.
It's incredible to see how much we take from nature
Mhm.
and then manipulate it, but then we don't really give anything back to it.
Yeah.
So it, there's that huge disconnect again with that. So sorry.
No, no, this I love this. It's wonderful. I just yeah, it's so important to and that's a connection with spirit. I mean, right? I mean, it's absolutely, once we get into that heart space, we do realize what it looks like and what we need to do and for not only for our individual selves, but that there's a lot of people here that we need to do it together too. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yay. So, what would you say? This is a big one. These are big questions, so feel free to take it any direction you want. So, what has your spiritual path taught you um, about being a human being on this planet? I think you just covered a lot of that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, empathy is huge. Connection is huge. Empowerment is a
Yeah.
big one. When you start walking the path of the witch, the quote unquote, um, you start to understand how patriarchy has really manipulated um, spirit in
Mhm.
general. You start understanding how um, it has made the woman and the divine feminine subpar to the divine masculine, whereas you really need both to be in balance. It's not a gender thing, it's more of a what's the word I'm looking for? It I guess ideology where
Mhm.
it comes from, what the divine masculine represents and the divine feminine represents. So you have the divine masculine, which is about action and movement, and then you have the divine feminine, which is about nurturing and receiving. So if
Right.
you think about, waves on the shore, when they come in, that's that divine masculine, and when they come out, that's that divine feminine. So you have that push and pull, and you need
Yes.
that in order to have, think about gravity, that push and pull to help you stay
Absolutely.
in place. So
Wow. Beautifully said.
oh,
Yes. Yes. No, it's so true. And that's kind of I think something people don't necessarily understand about the focus of witchcraft, and correct me, or the focus of, kind of a pagan approach is that balance. And,
Yeah.
when people say, what the heck is a witch, or what is your focus, or that's a huge piece. Is that correct?
Yes. So we
Mhm.
are always trying to find, how we are in the space of the universe and the world and nature around us, right? So we have to make sure that our ego isn't overtaking anything else. We can be the magician, we can be, be in our power, but we also understand that our power is relative to everything else around us. It's not something that we need to um, elevate. We are not above anyone else or anything else. We are all in this together and connected. So once you start putting that ego before everything else, that's when we're going to have some issues. There's a lot of talk about spiritual psychosis that's going on right now. There's a lot that can get a little bit testy if you start putting your ego above everything else and start thinking that your way is the best way. You have all of the knowledge. With what I try to do is learn something new every day, explore more. I am not an expert in anything. I don't consider myself an expert. And I think that's important for all of us,
Yes,
regardless what path we are on, to realize that learning is just as important as knowing. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. And you are an expert in your need, your view, so that's the important
yeah,
part, is for all of us.
yeah,
Yeah.
you only have what you're experiencing. So, you know what works for you. Kind of like, sorry, tell me if I'm going on tangents. I tend
Nope.
to do this,
That's
but
what we're here to do.
it's just like when you go to the doctor, they don't know what's going on. Like they can't feel everything that's going on in your body. You have to explain it. They're not having the same experience as you. So you kind of have to explain it in a way that makes sense for them to understand. So, you know, where was I going with it? I don't know, but
Well, I
whatever
mean,
makes
that's kind of
sense.
what we're doing here today. Like, yeah. But your path, because I mean, the more we can share each other's vision, the less people are afraid, the more they can connect with each other, the more they can understand that we're all here, based in compassion, like you said, love, empowerment. Like, I know that's not everybody's focus and everybody's truth, but I think on some level, if we really did our work, it's that's probably our common denominator.
Yeah, I see a lot of people really doing spirituality, the work, even in therapy, coping mechanisms that are shown to them through therapy,
Mhm.
through just community as well, the
Yes.
community events. They're doing the work. It's just they don't have a title to it. But the
Right.
more that you do the internal work, the more we connect uh, energetically and bring each other up energetically.
Yes.
So, the whole adage of like attracts like, um, if you are constantly perceiving things that are negative, if you are constantly putting yourself in negative environments, that's
Mhm.
that's your universal experience. That's all you know. But
Right.
once you start doing the work of empowering and loving yourself, you start to notice that that's another direction and another degree that you can go down, and all of that starts coming to you. And the exercise of when you see a yellow car, you'll start to notice more yellow cars once you're
Right.
aware of it. So
Yes. So just allowing ourselves to be in that space instead of feeling the need to like push others away or look for like the thing that's wrong or the thing that's, the person that's wrong, or, instead looking for the things to bring in.
yeah,
Which is, yeah, we're kind of, I mean, a lot of us, a lot of people are just opposite. Like we've just been put in this opposite headspace, and it's exciting to think, of going, just I think the acknowledgement of it, just knowing what to look for, knowing, no, I can, look this other way and bring in the good instead of looking for something to fight.
Right. And it's not to say that we are supporting like toxic positivity where
Right.
everything has to be perfect, everything
Yeah.
has to be happy.
Yeah.
Absolutely acknowledge your feelings, and let them pass through you. You're supposed to have these
Yeah.
emotions. You're supposed to. You're human.
Yes.
Um, but it's about acknowledging it, moving through it, and then not feeling like that is how every day is going to be for you. Or,
Right.
um, you know, it's hard to, especially in this climate, it's hard to have a focus on, the good things that you're grateful for, or the positive things that are happening.
Mhm.
Um, but there is a toxic way of drowning yourself in the negativity as well, when you are just constantly focusing on, well, this didn't happen for me, this didn't
Yeah.
go right.
Sure.
It just spirals you downward, instead of, well, you know what, this glimmer of hope happened, so let me just move towards that. And
Right.
then you start to see more glimmers happen. So
Absolutely. Yeah, there's days with when if I get up in a funk all the way to work, I'll be like, I'm thankful for my water that came out of the shower. I'm thankful for my car. I'm thankful for my pets. I'm thankful,
yeah,
like all the way. I just, you could come up with, no matter how bad things are going, just to
right.
really kind of bring yourself back in, you
Right. And
know.
it helps you to center. It helps you to focus,
Yes.
on what you can control right then in the moment.
Right. 100%. Absolutely. Yes. So, can you share some of the beautiful kind of traits or traditions of your path?
Well, celebrating the seasons is a huge one. And not every witch celebrates like the specific wheel of the year, but they'll
Mhm.
celebrate, the changing of autumn to spring, or autumn to winter, and then so on and so forth. So they don't necessarily celebrate, like the quote unquote wheel of the year.
Can
Um,
you talk about the wheel of the year for someone that's like, what are you talking about?
yeah. So it's more of like a, I don't want to I don't want to put it in a box. I'm not going to put it in a box, because I'm not exactly sure where it originated from at the
Mhm.
moment. But the wheel of the year is basically, you have your big season changes. So you have the spring equinox, you have the fall or autumn equinox,
Mhm.
and then when things change to winter. So it's those significant changes in those cycles that
Mhm.
you are celebrating. So they call them Sabbats. I don't celebrate every single one, obviously, because I don't have knowledge of every single
Mhm.
tradition. But some people go really, really big with it, and they put out offerings. They have gatherings. For Beltane, they do, which is the celebrating of the sun coming back for
Mhm.
spring. So they do big bonfires. They have gatherings and food. Food is a huge one to
Right.
celebrate. So for me, I celebrate Yule because growing up, we did a lot of big Christmas traditions.
Mhm.
So right now, our family is a lot smaller. So Yule is a big one for me, where I get to celebrate the passing into winter, so we can kind of calm the activities down. We celebrate by giving gifts. A lot of the quote unquote traditional Christmas traditions are borrowed from
Yes.
pagan
Kind of
tradition.
superimposed, I would say,
Yes,
because the Wheel of the Year is way older from a lot of different traditions from what I've read. And, I think a lot of it was the farming season, feeding
yes,
yourself so you don't starve to death, honoring, watching the skies, watching the light change. Like, people have been doing that for thousands and thousands of years.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing to continue to keep doing, because, again, we're so far from nature right now. We're so separated that
Mhm.
there was a lot of discourse over this last solar eclipse that happened. And I was like, you guys have like realized that solar eclipses do happen. Like,
Yeah, people thought the world was ending or something. I
yes,
don't quite know
yes.
what. Yeah, it was there was some weird stuff out
So
there.
much discourse over it, and I was just so perplexed. So we're so separated that we don't understand that that's how it's happening.
Right.
Like it's a continual thing that happens. Eclipses happen every year, just not so much of a totality. So that being connected that way really shows you how the harvest was done, how people planted, how they really celebrated nature in that way, and nature then gave back with the harvest bounty. So that's kind of like what the wheel of the year symbolizes. It's celebrating those cycles and
Mhm.
celebrating nature in general. So um, again, not everybody celebrates each single one, but the
Right.
big ones
Yeah.
we celebrate.
But it's important to learn where it comes from and how long it's been around and just, what a beautiful connection it is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then also moon cycles. So we
Mhm.
celebrate, at least I do, the different cycles of the moon. Preferably, I do a lot of new moon and full moon work. And that's usually where my focus is. Unfortunately, I have horrible time management. So by the time I realize it's happening, I've got nothing prepared and I fly by the seat of my pants.
Right.
But the moon, understanding the cycles and how that's connected to our divine feminine as well is very important too. Because the moon in our practice symbolizes divine femininity, and the moon has at least 28 days through the cycle, and women have 28 days at least through their cycle as well. So
Mhm.
when you're able to see how that can connect to maybe the days of your month where you might want to do a special working, or realizing that, you know what, I feel like I need to rest today because the moon is in that phase, and
Right.
that's why I'm feeling this. So
Yes.
that
That's
connection, I think.
Yes, that's a beautiful honoring because women just push through. Oh my gosh, when I was younger, like I would have horrible
Oh,
cycles and just the exhaustion and all of it. And all women do, just honoring, hey, you know what? I need to rest. I'm not, because the rest of the world is pushing on and the boss expects this and whatever doesn't mean I can't honor and validate myself. Hey, I'm exhausted.
yeah.
And, I mean, we've really, that's, just pushing through in absence of every natural instinct we have is kind of this place we've gotten, which is really strange.
Yes. The amount of readings I have done for women in general, that is just rest,
Mhm.
rejuvenate, take the time. It's a common
Yes.
uh, message in a
Yes.
reading.
And I think, very material, solid things have been put in place financially, this, that. No, we need this work done. No, we need this. Has nothing to do with the human person, has nothing, we're just kind of in the gears.
Yeah,
So, I mean, to step back and be able to honor that because people are told they're weak, they're told they're lazy, they're told, it's really something.
it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And again, when you start connecting back to nature, you start
Yes.
realizing we weren't meant to live like this. We
Right.
weren't meant to constantly be at top peak performance Monday through Friday.
Right.
And also, you were meant in the winter, like your body is meant to hibernate in a way, like it's meant to hunker down and wait for the
Right.
spring to come through. It's not meant to. That's why a lot of people are so confused why when January 1st starts, their resolutions don't last. You know,
Right.
they give up after week one.
Yeah.
And it's very much related to the fact that you got to start in April.
Right,
Start there.
right, when that
And
spring
then,
comes and you're renewing. Yeah, that's
yes,
very
yes.
interesting. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. That's so true. And only in recent years, because I live in the Midwest, it is ridiculous. We have below temperature, below zero, and all those kinds of things. And I used to dread it. And now, the more I've started to kind of honor the cycles and just, pay attention to my own body, I'll have the fire going. I'll have a stack of books for the winter. I'll pick a topic to study and just kind of go in.
Yeah.
I do a lot of shadow work. I do, and just honor that silent space. And it's really become beautiful. which is
Right?
something that took a lot of years to grasp, because I'd be like, oh, you know,
Begrudgingly have to,
yeah,
get in my car at 0 degrees and
right.
oh, yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. It is. So, how would you say your spiritual path, and you've kind of covered some of this too, to a better woman?
Oh gosh. It's made me really have to check my biases when it comes to things regarding patriarchy.
Hmm.
So, how women have been perceived, with the church, growing up with that, just growing up in society in general,
Hmm.
how women have all of these expectations put upon them, and they are not empowered to um, be in authority spaces. We're just now seeing a rise in more of that in female leadership,
Right.
but like within a lot of religious spaces, uh, women aren't empowered to be leaders. They aren't empowered to be uh, congregational stewardships,
Right.
right? With this, it really allows you to take your power back and reclaim what it is to be a woman, what that looks like to you individually. And it really is such an inclusive space. So, you know, uh, however you define woman to be, you can empower that and push that through your center, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. So,
Yes.
um, very much having to do a lot of shadow work through this path of understanding why I felt a certain way, why I had to do something a certain way. Like we were talking about having to work Monday through Friday and be expected to do a certain thing or wear a certain type of thing. I just learned that the more I am true to myself and the more authentic I am, the more my power grows, within me. The more I feel empowered to create certain things or to put myself out there.
Right.
For a long time, I was very opposed to having my appearance online at all.
Yep.
Um, Very afraid of being perceived
Mhm.
because everybody puts their judgments on you. Everybody expects you to look a certain way for them.
Mhm.
And quickly had to do some shadow work as to why I felt that way, why I was so afraid to be authentically and show up authentically for the people who want me to show up.
Right.
And once I worked through that, I was like, huh, perceive me however you want to perceive me. I
Right.
know what I am about, I know who I am.
Right.
So,
It takes a lot of courage and a lot of work. And I think
yes.
it's so awesome. Yes.
Yeah. So to empower a woman, that's powerful. That's scary for a lot of
Yes.
uh, patriarchal people. And I think that once you start connecting back to your center and focusing on what do you want, what makes
Right.
you feel good, I think you can start seeing the patterns of, okay, I showed up this way for XYZ or for this person,
Mhm.
and why did you do that? What did it get out of? What did they get out of it? What did you get out of it? And
Mm.
if you are dimming your light, that's not
Right.
going to do anything for you. That's not going to support you in any way. And then as far as, reclaiming and empowering yourself, you then know how to reclaim and empower others. You can bring that out in other women as well. So it's very much a support and community based path. I wanted to
Yes.
say faith, but I don't want to say that either.
Right, right, right. No, I get you. Yeah, and that was
Yeah.
interesting. When I was like designing this whole thing and the questions and everything, that faith and path and spirituality. It's kind of because that's a little different for everybody, and
Yeah.
that's okay too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's important and valid, and yeah. Wow, I love that. It's yeah, and I
I
love the
hope I answered the
community.
question.
You did. The community piece is beautiful. I think the community piece, there are so many of us. I mean, in the United States in particular, I mean, we have
Hmm.
over 365 million people. And I just think to myself, no wonder we can't talk to each. Like there's so many voices, so much, going on, so many platforms, so many,
Yeah,
angles and motives and it's really important to know who you are in that
yeah,
din. I think
yeah.
it's really
There's
crucial.
there's a lot of voices, which is fantastic,
Hmm.
but there's a lot of voices who sow fear,
Yes.
who maybe might not know exactly how to convey a specific message. So it's very important, if you are learning and on this path and wanting to be on it, that you use your discernment, that you
Yes.
definitely take the time to do research, and not just one book, one type of book. Go
Right.
through all of the different types of that specific subject, and really make sure that if it doesn't feel right to your soul, if it doesn't feel right to your intuition, that maybe that might not be the direction that you go into, because again, that's another path that can lead to ego. It can lead to fear, and the what this community is trying to do is not that.
Right.
Allowing you to take what you want from the information, take what feels right, and if there's anything that makes you think, I don't think that's quite true, use your discernment and go the opposite way.
Absolutely. I think one of the hugest things when I learn something new, I go try to find a bunch of things that are completely the opposite when I'm researching something. I find every opinion across the board. And then again, like discernment,
Yeah,
it's
it's
really
such a big
important and
thing.
what feels right in your heart space.
Yes, yes. I
Yeah.
think that with the rise of social media and with influencers, it's such a phenomenal thing to be able to connect and to learn. But there's also the other side of the coin, which is uh, sensationalizement, right? Or
Yes.
if that's the word. So things to get you views, clicks, and that's where the fear mongering can step in. And so just because you have, 1 million plus followers or
Right.
subscribers, it might not necessarily mean that you are an expert. It might not necessarily mean that you have all of the right answers. So again, it's important to take that ego bit out of the equation and really listen to the information that is being presented. And again, if it does not feel right, there's a reason why it doesn't feel right to you. And then again, on that same vein, we have the decolonization of spiritual practices as well. Um, Making sure that we are not appropriating spiritual practices from cultures. It's very important that when people who are in a specific culture tell you, hey, don't do this because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
specific to this, and you choose to not listen, that needs to be more of a work for you to decolonize and understand why you don't want to listen and why you are disrespecting that. So, and it's really easy to say, I'm sorry, I didn't know,
Right.
and I will forget about going down that path too. So, don't
Mhm.
take it as a dig on your spirituality. Don't take it as a dig on your intelligence. Take it as a, hey, I didn't know any better. Now I can change. And
Mhm.
again, I'm not the poster child for that at all. I don't know what exactly is a specific, especially with deity work. Don't ask me. I don't know the correct answer. I'm not in that space. So
Right. It's a broad base of
yeah,
practice for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Um, but even things like, saging, the terms you use, how
mhm,
you use intention, all those things come from different cultures.
right,
And, some people take offense if with certain wording, with and inappropriate. I mean, yeah, like you're saying, okay, so we can use, you know, uh, honor this in a different way
right,
or, different terminology or intent or, um, yeah.
exactly.
Because you
And
find that all these things have existed in different cultures in so many places all over the world through thousands of years. Again, I mean, people have been, saging and burning plants and honoring and all these things. And so, yeah, it's just important
And
to
I
be
think it's
aware.
important to listen. I think it's important
Mhm.
to understand that as someone who is this complexion, and we weren't around in that community thousands of years ago,
Right.
that we need to listen to those individuals that are telling us it's not appropriate and
Right.
not take offense.
Mhm.
And again, that's just my opinion.
Right.
I am somebody who is very sensitive to a lot of these conversations. I want to make sure that I'm doing my community right and not uplifting things that are not appropriate.
Mhm.
So again, I'm not an expert.
Right. Right. No, I think you'd have to know all things for all time. I don't think any of us are true. You have to question somebody that knows all.
Right.
So, what has your faith taught you, or your spiritual path taught you, about compassion, kindness, opening to different things? How you were raised seeing things. A lot of what's interesting about these conversations is how, people's path has changed over the years as they learn, as they grow. Things that seemed so kind and so appropriate maybe are different now. How do you think you your path, teaches kindness and compassion, or how do you view it? I guess what's important about it. Boy, that was like six questions.
I know. I'm just trying to think of a way to word it. Um, for me, compassion. I've always been very, you know, aware of other people. Right. There's a lot of people that are not self-aware of how sometimes their actions are very selfish, um, and so I think when you grow and get older, you start to realize that there's a lot of individualism in society, right?
Right.
So with this path, you, like we've touched on before, you understand that connection is a huge part of it. And not only is it connecting to nature, it's connecting to other people and empathizing with each other. I am very much along the viewpoint of the consciousness of the whole. So like when we talk about the collective consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
we can all connect energetically that way. And so a big part of being compassionate is understanding that I am you and you am I.
Right.
You are I.
Yep.
So that we
Yep.
are
You or
one.
me. I am you. You or me. Right.
So, for instance, I can put myself in your shoes. I can understand,
Mhm.
why you might be feeling a certain way or why you're reacting to something or what I said. I'm very understanding of that and compassionate of that. Understanding that, we're all having this human experience together. We're spiritual energy having this human experience. So understanding that helps you put yourself in other people's shoes. Is a huge one is understanding that we all are one bad accident away from becoming destitute or becoming
Right.
the people that society has told us that are not what is the word that society uses. We are one bad paycheck, one accident away from just being in the shoes of someone who has nothing or has horrible experiences, right? So when we can realize that and understand that, we can have more compassion. But when you keep that individual mindset of like me, I have to do things for me and me only. I'm not sharing my ideas. I'm not sharing my abundance. I'm not sharing anything with you because I need to hoard it.
Right.
Um, you're doing yourself and your community a disservice.
Right.
So you learn a lot about how to not only love yourself but to love your neighbor,
Yes.
and to love, even that hateful jerk down the street that
Right.
tells you to turn your music down at 3 p.m. You learn to empathize and understand that, okay, that person's having a bad day or that
Right.
person is down on their luck. It's not, I'm better than you,
Right.
hopefully. Makes sense.
Right, right, right. But
Like
that
at me and
empathy,
my tangents and my stories. Bad examples.
but that empathy is a core value of your path, right?
Yes.
And that compassion.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It gets to the point where it's so bad that like I am, you know, crying. I'll give you an example. I was having to deal with jury duty selection, which was a whole thing. Um, can't talk about, the reason why I was there, the case. But
Right.
when it finally got my turn to be up there, I was happily able to answer questions as soon as they answered something about like, well, why would you do this, that, and the other? Would you believe XYZ? I'm trying to be very discreet. Um, just started crying. Just, of course, I would believe XYZ. And they're like, okay, so maybe this isn't the trial that you should be on. Like, no, no, because this will be happening the whole time. So it teaches you to be very sympathetic and empathetic to others and what they've gone through and what they
Yeah,
are going through.
right. Definitely. Yes. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. And it's so interesting that, you know, every major faith on the planet says, or path seems to be guided in, love your brother, compassion, care of others, and then yet we have, holy wars and so much, just hate. And it's like, wait, where did that disconnect? It's
Yeah.
so interesting. And I think you have to always bring it back to yourself. Okay, how
Yeah.
am I responding again? is that
Right.
is that right? Is that
Right.
what who I am? Do I really believe what's coming out of my mouth? I think that this is a time for us, having the opportunity to kind of really look. And
Yeah.
it's fascinating.
Human beings, we weren't meant to be separated. We weren't meant to live individually. We would not survive. Um, we are meant to live in community. We are meant to support each other. We are meant to help each other. Because think about how we lived hundreds of years ago. We all helped raise the kids. We all did different
Right.
chores and tasks. We, when one needed rest, the other one would take over. It's very important that we do find time to build community, whether it's getting to know your neighbor or
Right.
getting to know your, server at Denny's. I don't know.
Exactly.
It's building that community and not to gain anything out of it for you
Right.
yourself, but
Just to
to just connect. Yeah.
Yep, my Starbucks kids. Oh my God, I'm a Starbuckser, and I take them Christmas presents. I'm like, hey, how's everybody doing? It just small connections like that. Like they start
Yeah.
my day. I'm grateful for them.
Right.
But little things like that, like hey, holding a door,
Yeah.
just little ways to connect and say, hey, I'm here too. I'm here. I'm
Right.
here.
I
We
see you.
do this. Yeah, I see you. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's the I see you and I see me and you see me
Yes.
and you.
Right. What is it? Namaste is the spirit in me acknowledges the spirit in you, or the soul in me acknowledges the soul in you. That's a Buddhist
Yes.
one, but that exists in every tradition on the planet, I think, or should. If
Yes.
it's not,
Yeah.
think about that. Think about that, whoever you are out there. Think about adding
Right.
that, because it is so important, to see each other. It reminds me, there's a Tina Turner song off her Wildest Dreams album that I'll stand here till you see that I am you and you are me. It's just so
Beautiful.
beautiful. Oh, that album. Ooh, gives me the shivers.
It's like me and Stevie Nicks.
Oh my God, no, oh my God, she's my girl.
Right.
Love it. Oh, yes. So how has your path taught you? What can you tell us about it, about helping other women? And I know we've covered a lot of this, but anything extra that occurs to you, kind of lifting up women? I mean, your path has a big focus on that, more than
Yes.
some.
You know, for me personally, I think it is. just now starting to be more normalized, where we don't put down other women, that we support their choices, that we compliment them. We're not in competition with other women. you
Right.
know that's not what we're about. We're supposed to be in support of other women.
Right.
So just because Sally down the street has a new Mercedes doesn't mean you need to feel like you have to judge her for treating herself.
Right.
So I'm trying to think of examples to support what I'm trying to say, but
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
it's not judging someone for walking out in a particular style of dress and saying, oh, they're
Right.
asking for it, or something like that. It's supporting their choice to wear what they want to wear, be who
Right.
they want to be, identify the way that they want to identify. It's validating their experience. It's
Yes.
validating who they are and not judging it, not putting them down because you don't think that something might be appropriate for you. Again, we're a mirror. If they are triggering you in a specific way, look inward as to why. If you
Mhm.
have a problem with their outfit, why do you have a problem with their outfit? You're not wearing it.
Right. Right. I
Things like that.
appreciate, and some of the younger people these days, and someone that just pops in my head is Miley Cyrus, and
Oh,
putting
uh-huh.
her happy hippie out there that is just honoring. She's, honoring her sexuality. She's honoring everyone for who they are. So we have some younger generation kids out there, kind of lifting up and saying, "Hey, we're not shaming each other anymore. We're not going to."
Right. Oh my gosh, this
We're
younger
slowly
generation.
getting it.
Oh, I am so proud. I'm so excited to see what they're going to do. And
Yes.
again, that's another part of empowering women. It's not looking at the younger generation and disowning or saying, "Oh,
Mhm.
they're not going to get far with that." It's
Right.
supporting them. They're
Exactly.
the ones that's going to be the new leaders, and they
Right.
have these amazing ideas, and they're more authentic than the earlier generations of us. I think it's phenomenal. There's
Yes.
artists now that are coming out that are just, they're blowing my mind,
Yeah.
and the way that they are going to revolutionize
Yes.
women in general. Oh, I'm so excited.
It's exciting. It's so exciting. Yes.
Support their dreams, support who they
Support.
are,
Right. Stop
and know
giving them a
that,
letter X, Z, Y, J. Stop
yes,
doing that. They're our way forward. So,
yes.
good or bad, you should be mentoring, teaching, sharing, letting them grow. Like they're gonna pull us out of the hole. I know nobody,
Oh yeah.
a lot of people don't believe that, but I just sometimes when I see really healthy kids coming up with amazing ideas, it just brings me to tears.
Right.
They're our way
Well,
forward.
I'm so excited. I cannot
Yes.
wait.
And we're growing. I mean, you see it in music and art, and yeah,
Yes.
we're
I'm
getting
seeing it so much. Like, I wasn't a huge TikTok person, when it first started, but after 2020, I was like amazed at what I was seeing. Just these young, creative, talented
yes,
young people.
right.
I'm here for it.
Yes, me too, me too. And in the din of like millions and millions of people, I mean, that's part of the struggle is there's just so many. So to even have the courage to bring yourself out there, and they're courageous.
Oh, so much.
They're living in this where we are kind of coming into it, with a foundation. They're building a foundation in that. That's really tricky.
That's
That's
beautiful, though.
yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we've talked about this a little bit too, but how I know we cover a lot of ground, so just pick whatever you pick from in case we missed anything. But when you experience, like, how does your path kind of um, help you manage interacting with people that are very negative, very hateful, abusive? Do you have
Ooh.
anything? I know it's
Um,
does it support
so
you in
so
that? 'Cause
I try to stay as far away from
mhm,
that as possible, but sometimes you just can't.
you can't.
Um, and what this faith teaches you again is to empathize. So being allowed to separate their outbursts or what they're saying, and understand that maybe it's coming from a different place,
Mhm.
really helps de-escalate in my mind. And again, you know, I live online. You know, this is what I have to deal with. There's
Right.
a lot of people who want to just be hateful to be
Right.
hateful.
Yep.
So I try to respond, if I respond at all,
Mhm.
in a way that isn't antagonistic back.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Yeah.
the more you play with fire, the more the fire expands. So
Absolutely.
it, if you can just ignore, then that's fantastic. If you can't, it's easy to just de-escalate and understand that all they want to do is have a reaction from you, or they don't know how to regulate their own bodies. So that's why they are, yelling at customer service, or they're, having an outburst. They don't know how to, they weren't taught how to regulate their emotions and regulate their body. So once you start understanding that, you don't take it personal. um, I haven't been in a situation for a long time where I had to like de-escalate somebody in public.
Mhm.
Um, but again, it's, this path teaches you that there are better ways to go about your emotions. And again, it's not all about you. So, if your order gets wrong, you don't need to yell at the service worker. You just politely say, hey, you put tomatoes on my hamburger when I asked for none. So
Right.
is there a way, I hope that
Little
answers.
pieces. Yep. You're so right. Yep.
Oh,
Little, every little step is you're going
yes.
to impact somebody in some way. And what is that way? Yeah.
Right. And then there are people who are so steadfast in what they believe in a patriarchal way, I'll say,
Mhm.
that they cannot step outside of that and understand where another person is coming from.
Mhm.
So they fight tooth and nail to get you to be believing or on their side for everything. If
Right.
you don't believe exactly what I believe, oh, how dare you? I need you to believe what I believe so that I can have confirmation that I'm correct. Or,
Right.
you know, and that's fine. But for me personally, any type of faith, any type of spiritual path, I'm not trying to convert you. I'm not trying
Mhm.
to bring you to my side. I am just strictly here being in my own little bubble. And if you like what I do, awesome. If not, I will never, impose my beliefs on somebody else. And so
Right.
I think it's important to have these conversations as to why certain people feel it is the need to proselytize and be very vocal, and then not be receiving of why somebody doesn't want to participate in their path.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
very much a aggressive stance.
Right.
So then when we don't push back, it's more aggression. So
Right. Yeah.
um, just learning when to just ignore is a huge one with this path, because again, you can only control yourself. You can't control anybody else. You
That's it.
don't know how they're going to react. Um, so doing what you can control, your
Right.
actions, your responses.
Right. That's beautiful. Yes. And that's, yeah. And that's a beautiful piece of it, I think, because you're just honoring yourself. And again, the basis is compassion and kindness. Like
Yes.
that can never be wrong.
Right.
I mean, nobody, if they're truly living that, so, but we are only in control of ourselves. And
Right. Right.
that's all that's your business. The rest isn't your business.
Exactly.
Which is
Exactly.
something we really all need to a lot of people struggle with that, I
Yes.
feel. Yeah.
And I believe it goes back to, sorry, I know it's a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's important that we also understand that um, that is specific people's way of building community as well.
Mm.
So
Yes.
they don't understand the difference between, a religious community and a supportive communities. Just
Right.
because you go to a place of worship doesn't mean those people are going to necessarily be the people that, if you're sick, they'll come help you. If you need anything, they'll come and provide. they're taught that, but it's not necessarily a strong community. Whereas if you are consistently building community with people that you know, with your neighbors, with people within your spiritual path, you have that open communication, you have that dialogue into which you can say, hey, I really need something today. Is there any way that you can support me with this? And then the next time they need something, boom, you're back with the giving. So if you're having a hard time finding community, look at those around you and see as to maybe why you're feeling that way. Are they really building community with you, or are they just there because that's what they are told that they need to do?
Mm.
Um, because I know that there are some faiths that that's absolutely the case, where they are in support, they come when you call, and then there are other people who have it's very much a performative thing.
Mm.
So those people who are stuck in their assertiveness with that sometimes are reaching out to try to find their community. Maybe, for instance, for me, maybe they like, my vibe or what I'm about, but like they can't understand why I'm not on, I guess, their team or, their spirituality route. And maybe they want me to come and be a part of that. But again, it's hard to explain what I'm trying to say. Um, we're so far removed from each other. We're so focused on our individualistic needs that we don't know and don't understand how to build community with each other. And so we think that, oh, if we go to church or if we go to the farmer's market or, whatever the case may be, that's our community. When in a sense, there's work to be built in a community. You have to consistently be active in it. Just because you show up one day doesn't mean you're automatically involved in a community. You have to do the work. You have to be a participant. So I know I'm not explaining this in the correct way that my brain wants to say it, unfortunately. But so along the same questions that were being asked, dealing with negative people can also help you understand why they are feeling that way, because maybe they don't have access to the people that they need or the support that they need. And so therefore you can kind of, again, put yourself in their shoes and understand, okay, they're coming from that place and it's not me, it's them. So all of that roundabout to say,
It's wonderful. We're all about the roundabout here.
I'm so sorry. If you've been with me,
Yes, and it's wonderful. That's the best part.
I have a need to use examples when I am answering any kind of question, because how I see things in my brain might not necessarily come across in the way that I mean them to come across saying. So the examples are necessary.
Yes, no, the examples are the best part. You have to,
Okay,
it is, it's true. You have to, it really just makes things really clear.
right?
Example.
Especially with talking about this kind of a subject,
Yes.
because
Oh
you
my
don't
gosh,
want to
'cause
offend.
otherwise it's kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So,
My intention is not to offend or to judge. It's just strictly from experience. So,
mhm. So, okay, so we're getting to the end, but what do you think? So, in terms of just, we've talked a lot about kind of current times and, you know, um, younger kids kind of growing up in this environment, even things like COVID that separated everybody. A lot of division, a lot of bullying, things
mhm.
that, I mean, some of these things have always been there, but also this is an exceptionally challenging time for kids growing up. I mean, young kids, depression and anxiety has skyrocketed statistically. Now I know we're diagnosing things more and all this kind of stuff, but I mean, to go to school and be afraid you're going to get shot, or you being attacked by, and so much online stuff.
Yeah,
um, it's a tricky time to be a kid.
absolutely.
What do you think can kind of bridge that divide? I know we just talked about divide and people being divided. Is there anything in your path that teaches you how to bring people back together, how to kind of bring the alienated people, or kids feeling very separate, growing up in this society, like what in your path brings people together?
So the what I've noticed with kids, I have a lot of friends with kids. I don't myself
Mhm.
personally have kids, but the kids that I am around, they are going through a lot of things that like are exponentially worse than when we were kids,
Yeah.
as you were saying. And excuse me. And so I've noticed, not a lot of playing outside, not a lot of getting your hands dirty, not a lot of, sitting and being bored. I think that with this path, it teaches you to really get messy, make mistakes, learn from your mistakes. And as well as like, you know, breath work is important. Allowing yourself, sorry, I got a cough. These allergies.
Bless you. Oh, I'm.
Oh,
No, we've been
sorry.
talking so long, my throat's getting a little scratchy too.
Sorry.
I've kept you so long.
Oh, no,
We're having a
no.
fascinating. This is wonderful.
I'm having a great time. Um, we also have cats, so cat hair is
Uh,
constantly flying around, dog hair as well. So anyway, um, breath work is important. I think kids aren't the way that the society is built upon right now is you have the stressors of both parents. If there is a both parents working, they're not home as much with their kids because they can't be. The kids aren't really shown how to be still and focus on their breath, and know that that's a way of regulating. Or sometimes kids stem and they have to shake about and wiggle their body, and that's a fantastic way to release pent up energy,
yep.
to release nervousness. We aren't taught to move our body. We aren't taught to be silly.
Right.
When I was growing up, I know for my mom too, kids were taught to be seen, not heard.
Right.
And we carry a lot of that trauma with us. And so kids need to just be kids. And with so many scary things happening in the world right now,
Right.
they're growing up quick and they're not
Mhm.
allowing themselves to be able to utilize their imagination, to be present in the present day. I've talked to kids like 10-year-olds that are telling me about their drills that they have to do
Right.
in class. Think about just the trauma, just knowing that they have to do drills every day. Like,
Right. Yeah.
again, not to get too far off the path, kids can learn a lot about their own cycles and their emotions if they get outside and see the nature cycles.
Mhm.
See how a plant grows, that it takes time, it takes patience to get to be able to have that flower grow or the fruit on the vine.
Mhm.
Patience is important. Kids aren't allowed to be patient anymore. Kids aren't allowed to explore. I remember exploring my hometown, going to places maybe I shouldn't have been,
Right.
uh, giving giving myself that freedom to do so. It's hard to be a
Mhm.
kid now. You can't do
Right.
that.
Right.
So
And I think
the
your path, I'm sorry, your
no,
path
go ahead.
is just, it could be very, like exploratory, silly,
Yes,
everything is kind of welcome and ritual, and correct me or share if I'm
yes,
incorrect, but it opens
yes.
the door to a lot of creativity.
Absolutely. And creativity is huge. I think that a lot of us adults don't understand how much creativity plays a part in our day to day, how much we suppress that and imagination.
Mhm.
Um, I remember there were plenty of times where me and my little girlfriends, we would just go pretend we were fairies and figure out how to make potions with mud and water and different grass that was growing around. It's just a time to explore. And then like I said, breath work is important. Teaching your kids how to meditate. They don't have to be still to meditate. They don't have to have nothing going on up here.
Right.
It's just coming back to the breath, and that again helps regulate them. So if your kid is struggling with anxiety, if your kid is struggling with heavy emotions, sit with them, allow them the space. Sometimes all a kid needs is attention, and allowing them to just be present with an authority figure they love and trust.
Right.
Um, Allowing open conversations. There were so many times when I was growing up where I was going through things, but maybe my adult figure didn't have the capacity emotionally or the knowledge to really explain what was going on or how to regulate.
Right.
So
And you
it's
found that
important.
again in your current path. You know,
Yes,
it's
yes,
allowed, it's validated.
right, yeah. So um, again, I'm not a parent, but I'm around a lot of kids, and I see how beneficial, just being outdoors is, allowing them to just go crazy and be letting them be a kid, because right now they're just not
Yeah.
able to fully explore that right now in their environments.
Right.
Uh, it makes me really upset.
Yeah. So, what are some of your most, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I'm
No, you're
sorry.
fine.
What are some of the most joyful parts of your path, like joyful practices, joyful parts to being
Oh my
aware?
goodness. First of all, just sharing in the community and seeing being a part of other people's experiences like this. This is such a happy thing. I love this. Um, as well as I love crafting things. So like we
Mm,
talked about the spell bottles. I love being able to explore the different meanings and symbology and energy of plants and uh, crystals, and exploring the different ideologies within this realm, and just figuring out, little glimmers of hope
right. It's
and
like playing in
practices.
the dirt as an adult.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, gardening. Gardening has been a huge one. Indoor plants, outdoor plants. I love being involved in that and seeing things grow. Um, yeah, the tarot's a huge one.
Mhm.
It has helped me immensely, as far as seeing how to grow, where what I'm holding on to,
Right.
and just psychologically wise, it's really helped heal. And I feel like if you are interested in that tool, because that's what it is, a tool. If you're interested in it, check it out, explore it. It's something that can help you unlock some things that subconsciously you've held back.
Mhm.
Um, and help you grow and expand as a human, as a being on this earth.
It is a
So
great healing tool. Yeah, have definitely. It's a beautiful way to, I mean, it's all archetypal based. It's
yes,
all, it's just pointing you in different directions. Hey, what about this? Hey, what about this? Have you considered? And it's a great healing tool for myself as well,
that's
definitely.
awesome.
And a
Yeah,
great like storytelling, like a lot of, it gives you ideas to journal through things and
yes,
yeah.
so healing. But yeah, a lot of the stuff, that's what it is. My inner child is able to explore things that maybe I wasn't allowed to or wasn't able to when I was younger. Explore ideas, and allow myself to play more. It really allows me to get creative and play, and not have these constructs around it. I can color outside the lines if I want to.
Right, the
Uh,
judgment and yeah.
yes. Yeah, so it's I highly recommend exploring it, if you are looking into just connection in general, or getting back to basics, getting back to your
Right,
roots,
and
because it definitely,
self-reflection.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I'm trying to reclaim it for all of us. There's a deck that is very much about this, called the Total Witch something. Oops, I'm totally butchering it right now. But it talks about reclaiming your power as a divine feminine being, and that which isn't a bad thing, that which is an empowering thing, and more younger people are finding it and exploring it. Older women are
Yeah.
exploring it and connecting to it and feeling empowered. I've been hearing stories of women who kind of followed the path for a bit, left it, and came back. People who deconstructed their Christianity or their patriarchal beliefs and found empowerment. Not to say that any other belief is invalid. There are plenty of Christian witches out there, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
And it's it's just phenomenal, the people you meet along the way, the stories that you
Yes.
hear.
Yes.
It's wonderful. I love this.
Yes. It's very exciting. Thank you so much for being here
Oh
today.
my
I
gosh, thank
just,
you.
oh my gosh, I was like, so I'm like, ha, it's been tricky to find, people that just present an open space and can share their what they believe, and just not feel the need to compare, or I just want to put voices out there and conversations and thoughts, and I'm
Right.
really glad you were felt called to participate.
Absolutely. I love this. And I hope that my answers were not uh, perceived as judgmental of anything. I really am not. I just am going by experience of my own
Experience. Yep.
stuff. So
Yes.
this has
Okay.
been so nice and so fun. I
Yes.
love chatting.
Thank you again for being
Thank
here.
you.
Okay, guys, we will check in on the next more to come. And thank you for being here for Soul Journeys. And we will talk to you next time. Okay. Bye, guys.